What you're seeing here is the model that we built for Module 3. If you don't have it, then you can download the Module 3 model from the Google slide I posted. And what we're gonna do first before we move on is we're gonna run the Module 3 based in case you don't have that simulation results. Okay, so before making any changes, we're gonna go to Sim Setup, and I already have the simulation result file name here. It's called Module 3 Base. I'm gonna run the base run, and then I'm ready to make modification. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna create a pipeline that goes from recovered population all the way to susceptible population. And if we use the rate and click recovered population and to the susceptible population, that pipeline will overlap with the incident rate, of symptom appearance rate, and recovery rate, you know, the one that we have right here. So we want to move the pipeline to somewhere a little bit above. Okay, so the way to do that is you have to press Shift key whenever you want the arrow to bend. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to click the rate, the pipeline, and then we're going to start from recovered population. So before we do anything, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, okay? And then I'm going to click recovered population. And here, I want the arrow to bend right here, okay? So I'm going to click while I'm holding the Shift key, okay? And then I am still holding the Shift key, and I'm going to click one more time here. Okay, and while holding the Shift key, I'm gonna click the susceptible population. Okay, now I have my arrow like bent, pipeline bent like this, and I'm gonna call this outflow or inflow to the susceptible population immunity loss rate. This immunity loss rate will be determined by the number of people in this recovered population stock and the duration of the immunity. Okay, so we're going to create this new variable. Click variable, and then the name of the variable is going to be duration of immunity after recovery. Okay. So that's my variable. I'm going to move other variables around a little bit to create a room. Okay. From here, I'm going to, using the arrow, create a link from duration of immunity after recovery to immunity loss rate, and then from recovered population to immunity loss rate. Okay, so those are the two new arrows that we're going to be adding. Okay, so you can lock the sketch, and now we're going to go and define the equation. So if you click equation tool, then these two stocks will light up because we added a new inflow and outflow, and it wants us to double check. So if you go and check out the recovered population, now the outflow of immunity loss rate got added. You don't need to change anything. You're going to go and click susceptible population. Now the immunity loss rate was added to the equation, and then duration of immunity after recovery, you click that, and this is a constant, and we're going to make that 180 days. So unit's going to be day. Click OK, and then immunity loss rate, that's going to be recovered population divided by duration of immunity after recovery. Okay, so the unit's going to be, this is people, okay, and then this is going to be day, so the unit's going to be person per day, right? Now we are done with all the modification that we want to make for this module. You're going to save it, and now we're going to go to Sim Setup, and I'm going to run Module 4 base. Okay, simulate. If you go and check out the recovered population and click graphs, now you're going to see Module 3 base and Module 4 base. So what's happening here is in Module 3, okay, we have this very stable number of recovered population after around day 90, right? However, what happens in this new simulation run is we are losing some of those recovered population, right? That's because those people are returning to the susceptible population stock. So we can also check the cumulative death. Now this is what's going to happen in module 3. We have an equilibrium level of cumulative death because the whole epidemics kind of wraps up after a certain number of days. However, in this module 4, okay, we're going to continue to see a growth in the number of deaths because people are keep cycling through this pipeline, and some of the people from the infected symptomatic population will go out this way. Okay, so that's going to continue to happen. All right, so we can also modify the graphs that we created from module 3 from the control panel. So if you click that, okay, and then go to the graph section, we have a lot of these graphs that we created. Now let's take a look at the behavior of stocks. Okay, let's modify that. So now it's not module 3, so I'm gonna say, let's just change, the name of the graph will be just behavior of stocks, and then I'm gonna just change the title of this specific graph as behavior of stocks. And then we're not gonna make any other changes because the number of stocks are the same. Click OK, and now we can click behavior of stocks and display, and this is the graph that we see. I want you to note that we haven't really locked the scale of cumulative death, so this is on a slightly different scale than the rest of the graph, but you can see that we are continuing to see a rise in the death number, and then the recovered population will slightly decline over time, and those people will end up in this susceptible stock, okay, which is rising slightly. We can also take a look at the rates. We modify it, and then let's change the name to flow of people. Shows the flow of people through the pipeline we have, and then I'm gonna say this is module 4, flow of people, and let's lock the scale of incidence rate and the recovery rate because they're going to be at a different scale than the death rate and immunity loss rate. If we lock all of them, we're not going to see any changes in these two variables because it's going to be a relatively very small number compared to other flow rates. So let's say OK, and now let's take a look at the flow of people here. So now this is what's going on. The black line shows the immunity loss rate. Okay. Let's compare the module 3 and module 4 behavior. So this is the comparison of incident rate. We already have that graph, and let's modify that. Okay, so let's just say comparison of behaviors, because we're going to compare more than incidence rate right now. So, and then I'm going to say the title is comparison of module 3 and module 4. And then we have incidence rate here. The data set right now it says module 2 and module 3 base, but I'm going to change that to module 3 base and module 4 base. And I can do that because I already ran module 3 base and module 4 base. So in the same folder, there is that simulation result of module 3 and module 4 incidence rate. Okay. And then another thing that I want to compare is the cumulative death. Okay. So incidence rate, which is the new number of infections per day, and then the cumulative death, those are the ones that we are usually interested and hear about in the news. Okay, so the one cumulative death will come from module 3 base, and the other one will come from module 4 base. Okay, click OK. Now let's take a look at the comparison of behaviors. Now, if you look at the incidence rate, okay, module 3 and module 4 is not all that different. Okay, however, module 4, you're seeing you know, a little bit of an incidence that's taking place after day 30. However, in module 3, that was completely controlled. And then in terms of death, we are seeing a continued increase of death in module 4 as opposed to module 3. That death rate has been controlled, and the cumulative death doesn't really go up that much after a certain number of days. Okay, so those are the differences. Okay.